Are you trying to recover from something that's left you feeling broken? Whether it's addiction, trauma, divorce, or codependency, no matter what you're dealing with or going through, Christ offers hope and healing. In today's episode, we'll explore how God brings restoration to every type of recovery, whether you're facing personal pain, relational challenges, or emotional wounds. Stay with us. By the end of tonight, we'll discuss how Christ's love can transform your journey to wholeness. Tonight, I really just want to kind of take a moment to talk about like recovery as a whole, and really just how Christ is the center of our recovery.
Like he's our purpose, our reason for wanting to even be better.
Yeah, just the purpose, the reason, the catalyst for change. How when we put Christ in the center of it, how he feels all of these different gaps that are required for us to find wholeness and completeness in recovery.
That's gonna be a good one.
Yeah, I mean, recovery is difficult and challenging, and I think we're blessed and lucky to have like a guidance counselor.
To have a God that doesn't want us to be stuck, doesn't want us staying in that pit.
So tonight we're going to key around the verse Isaiah 43:19, which says, "See, I am doing a new thing. Now it springs up. Do you not perceive it? I am making a way in the wilderness and streams in the wasteland." Which leads into our first question: how does Christ give us a new identity after any form of recovery?
Man, we've been talking about identity a lot recently, a lot lately, and what's funny is going through other types of recovery and through different types of identity change. One thing I learned through YouTube videos and other stuff was you got two people, both of them were smokers, right? Both of them quit smoking. And the first guy quit smoking, and when someone offers him a cigarette, he says, "Oh no, I'm trying to quit smoking." It's harder for that person to quit smoking than it is for the second person, because the second person, what he says is, when he gets offered a cigarette, he says, "Oh no, I don't smoke," or "I'm not a smoker." Like he owns that as his identity, that his new being. He's not saying, "No, I'm trying to stop. No, I'm not a smoker." And that person that thinks that way, perceives their recovery that way. We kind of have to do the same thing with God. Like, I'm trying to be a good person. Oh, I'm trying to live a better life. Oh, I'm trying to give up on codependency, drugs, or whatever it is. And instead say, "No, I am a new creation in God," and actually owning that identity. It changes the chemistry in your brain. It changes your whole mindset, your whole attitude towards it. If you're constantly saying, "Oh, I'm trying to be a better person," that puts so much pressure on you. That puts so much strain on your own back, and you have to be the one to perform. And when you mess up, you're the one that carries all that shame. But as we get closer to God and get deeper into his identity, then we change our mindset, or we change the way that we change our vocabulary, the way we speak. Like, I am a new creation in Christ. We even talk about that at Recoverers. Like, why do we say, "I am a grateful believer in Jesus," before we say anything else? Because that should be at the forefront of our identity. This is who I am. I am a grateful believer in Jesus first. But I don't know. What do you think?
Yeah. There was something that you said, and I kind of want to go back to that real quick before I forget. But you talked about like what you carry and different titles. So like, what labels would you say that you've carried from your past that you're still carrying through your recovery now?
That one kind of hit me pretty hard. This one's weird because it's probably something that I try to fight a lot, is the label of being lazy. Like, and I know I'm not lazy because I'm always doing something. I know you're not lazy. I'm like always doing something. I'm always tired. I'm always working. That's probably a whole episode in itself. Is like, but that's a title that I put on myself sometimes. Like I'm lazy. I don't work hard. I don't put in all the effort that I could, or whatever it is. That's definitely one that I've been carrying for a while.
Yeah. And then you talked about like the new identity, right? So that reminds me of like 2 Corinthians 5:17. Therefore, if anyone is in Christ, the new creation has come, the old has gone, the new is here.
Yeah.
Right? So like one last question I want to ask you is, you know, what if you began seeing yourself as Christ does, as forgiven and redeemed and beloved?
Ooh, it would take so much pressure off my back. I wouldn't be like living in this like mindset of I have to perform, I have to be here, and then just being washed away, and that shame would just be gone, right? And being able to live without any shame that's like true freedom right there. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, for me, I felt like because I've gone through life with God for so long, right? Like I grew up in the church, right? So for me in my recovery, it's been less of like my new identity in Christ and more of like Christ reminding me who I always was supposed to be or always was meant to be, versus like trying to walk in like a new identity. And for some people, in my experience, right, being on like this path and having conversations with people, like they're new believers, right? So they did life this whole other way, and they legitimately are born like again in this new creation. Where for me, I almost relate more with like the prodigal, right? Like I knew how I was supposed to grow up in the way I was supposed to go, and with everything that I experienced in life, it's like I rejected that. Decided to go live life a different way, was hearing like God like reaching out for me at times, right? And I don't know if I've ever told this story, but my dad would send me to a Christian summer camp every year until I started high school in the summer for like a week. And he would go to Jamaica. It's a story for another day.
Oh yeah.
But he would send me to this Christian summer camp, and I would get a lot of these experiences, but like that was like the most God I was getting for like a year.
From the summer camps.
Yeah. And then so I'd go to that summer camp, be like refueled by God.
Yeah. Get that.
Locked in, because you do like church like twice a day plus devotional time, and like so it's a it's a lot.
You're immersed all day. It's summer camp.
Worship in the morning, worship in the evening. And so you're fully immersed in a very Christian lifestyle, and then I'm just like thrust back into the world and school and everything else that goes along with that, and all the things that we were doing growing up, which was smoking and drinking, and acting like fools. And I would be depleted. By the time that year would be over, and I'd get back to the summer. And the last time I went was for like 2.5 weeks before high school. And because it was 2.5 weeks and not just a week, like I got so much more out of that experience. And it ended with like a foot washing ceremony. Where the counselors washed all of our feet after like this 2.5 weeks.
Interesting.
And we got to serve throughout that 2.5 weeks. That was part of it. Like you would serve. We went downtown from the mountains. They put us all in a van. We went downtown. We met with homeless people and picked up trash and the whole thing, and then went back up and we served around the camp, and we went on a 3-day backpacking trip and hiked the 14er. And I've told the 14er story.
Yeah.
That was from there. And
Dang.
went whitewater rafting and rappelling and all these crazy adventure things on
Yeah.
2.5 weeks while being like totally locked in with God.
Yeah, that's awesome.
And for me in my recovery, it was like stepping back into that identity. Like I had gotten glimpses of it
Yeah.
with those trips, but in my recovery, it was like being committed to saying like, no, God, I'm going to walk with you all the time, not part of the time,
Yeah.
or not for a week at a time.
Not just 2 weeks out of the year.
Yeah. And in that found my identity, which was always there, but it was just under so much other stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Nice.
So
That's awesome.
it's a great camp.
Do you remember the name?
Yeah. Camp Idrahachi. Camp I'd rather have Jesus. Yeah.
Yeah, that's it. I was highly involved in that camp too.
Yeah. I always wanted to be like a camp counselor there. And
Yeah.
it just never happened. They didn't want me.
They didn't want you.
I never tried, but they where I was at in life, they didn't want me there. But kind of moving along, how does Christ offer hope and redemption from guilt, shame, and loss?
Ooh. Not sure how to answer this question besides giving a basic. He cleanses you of it, right? He came and he died so that you wouldn't have to carry that anymore. Very generic answer. Kind of stuck. I don't know how to. Not sure where I want to dig with this one. What are you thinking?
Yeah, so the verse that I kind of highlighted when I formed the question was Romans 8:1. Therefore, there is no condemnation for those who are in Christ Jesus. And I think that that's like the key point in his offer of hope, right?
Yeah.
Is that we are fully redeemed, right? There's no condemnation. So like he separates us completely from the way that we were walking into the light that he's like calling us into.
Yeah.
And so I think that's what Christ does, right? Is say like you were going one way and now you can walk another way, right? And even more beautiful than that is I think of like Peter, right? Who was like a fisherman. And Jesus says, like, now I'm going to make you a fisher of men.
Yeah.
Right. So
Completely
he
changed you.
takes this one title, right, which is like something that you were doing, and what you were doing or how you were going along was almost similar to what Jesus had for you all along. But instead, he redirects you to like the thing that he wants for you, right? And so I think it's interesting how we can want to walk in our guilt, and Jesus says no. Like I want you so far away from that, but like we have an enemy that wants us to be like remain in guilt and shame.
Yeah.
And Jesus is like telling you like there's no condemnation for you. Like there's like it's done. It's put away with. Like in
This is something that I started talking to a friend with this week, and it's been something that I've been really struggling with as far as letting go. Is like, it's my shame, it's my hurt, it's my pain. Like XYZ happened to me, and this is mine. And how do we like let go of that too? How do we give that pain up to God? Like, God, this sucks that this happened to me. God, this sucks that this relationship ended. This person hurt me, or this person lied to me, or whatever it was. Like we want so much to be like, that is part of our old identity too. Like, I want to live in the shame. I'm the one who messed up, or I'm the one who was hurt, and I want to hold on to it. But even those experiences too, being able to like give that up and give that up to God it's confusing and it's tricky, because it's it's not something tangible. And I think like being fully redeemed, even in all those it's almost like we want to hold on to that. Like, hold on to the parts of us that are bad, so that we, I don't know, feel more comfortable that we're stuck in it.
Yeah. With the going back to the Peter example, I think I almost made a mistake in that I told the end without telling the beginning, right? So Jesus ends by saying, "I'll make you a fisherman." Before that, Peter hits his knees and says, like, "I'm a sinful man."
Yeah.
Right. So
Peter give it up.
Like, so Peter, he wanted to like sit in his shame in the moment, knowing he was like in front of the Lord, and that's where I feel like what Jesus does for us is like, it's like he sees you in the guilt and the shame, and he says, "No, this is what you were. This is what you are."
Yeah.
And he does that for us, makes it known to us right away. Yeah. So that we can move on, so that we can walk with him. You know, Peter still has his problems moving forward, as we see all throughout the gospel.
Yeah.
Right. From the moment where he's walking on water and falls in the sea, right, to him denying, Christ 3 times.
Yeah.
After he said he wasn't going to do that.
Yeah.
So it's not like a catch-all, but after all of those moments, Jesus is right there. Jesus is right there to pull him out of the water.
Always
Jesus
there.
is there with him on the beach, saying, "Well, then, love my sheep," right?
Yeah.
And redeemed all 3 times that he denied Christ. He redeems him 3 times after that, and that's like the beautiful picture of like why we need Christ as a part of our recovery, is because he's there to tell you right after.
Yeah.
Like, no, we're good.
We're good. We're good. You messed up. Make mistakes. Keep moving forward.
Yeah. How can we find, or how have you been able to find strength in Christ when recovery feels overwhelming?
This one's interesting. It's probably because I've found myself messing up so many times that I'm like, by acknowledging my failure and my weakness and my need for it, I've been able to see he's got a bigger plan. He's stronger. He's got to figure it out. Because as I depend on my strength, that's when I get burnt out. When I depend on my works, that's when it's not enough. When I depend on if I'm doing enough, because like I said earlier, I'll still feel lazy. I'll do 7 days of volunteering and feel like it's not enough. And it's because technically it's not, because I'm not doing anything. So it's almost like I've been able to depend on him more the less I try to take control, the less I try to check the boxes and force it to work. And it's funny because I know that's what he wants to work on me, is my letting go of control, my need to be the one that's seen or does the stuff or gets the things done, gets validated through other people. It's funny that that's how he's working on me, is to be like, I'm going to let you do 110% of everything, and it's going to fail so that you know that you have to do it through me. And it sucks. It hurts. But that's what growth is. Right?
Ultimately, my recovery journey has been ebbs and flows. And anyone that's on the path to recovery and has been doing it for a little while, especially if you've been doing it for a little while, you know that like recovery is hard. It's not an easy path or an easy trail, or it's not an easy walk. And if you think that you can just bear down and get yourself through it, you're probably going to find yourself in like a moment of weakness, or you're going to find yourself in relapse, right? Where I found myself. Like, although I was so dependent on God for my recovery, you get to a point where like it gets hard, and then you just start trying to bear the burden of it yourself.
Yeah.
And we're not called to do that. The verse I wrote down was Psalm 46:1. God is our refuge and strength and an ever-present help in trouble. And a lot of times you can find yourself in trouble and not go to the one that's going to give you the strength to deal with it. You try to deal with the temptation in your own strength, and then you fall to that temptation because you think that you can just you grit your teeth and get through it.
Yeah.
And we're just not built for that.
You have a limited amount of grit. You'd be gritty and work hard and do all that, but you're gonna burn out.
Yeah.
You're not gonna be able to do it forever.
We're in a decaying body, right?
Yeah.
So it's not built to withstand this, right? It's why we need an eternal God to help us get through this, because we weren't created to survive it. And we needed Christ, right? So that we can experience eternity with God. So just based on that alone, how are you trying to get yourself through like some like troubling aspect of like your recovery walk? It's just a bad idea. But we do it anyways. I've done it. We still try. And you just have to like remember like if it's getting hard or it's getting difficult, to like check yourself and be like, am I trying to do this on my own strength, or am I hiding myself under the Lord? Am I taking sanctuary under Christ?
Yeah.
Because that's what He is for me, is a safe haven.
Exactly.
So
it's kind of funny. This week I was listening to a health and fitness podcast, and they're talking about recovery and like from physical standpoint recovery. Like, you're supposed to work out, you're supposed to recover so your muscles grow, your body gets stronger. And there's so many different like fad things going around, or different stuff. Like, I do an ice bath every day. I do it more for the mental state than for like my body recovering. But this doctor's talking about there's everything like more food you should eat, or active recovery where you're like biking or doing something, or an ice bath or a hot shower or whatever it is. And he's saying that most likely the best thing you can do for your recovery is to do less, not add more. And it hit me. I was like, oh dang, we do that in our emotional recovery too, where we're like, what's another book we can read? What's another prayer we can pray? What's another chip I can get? And not that any of those are bad things, but as we keep stacking them, sometimes God's just like, just sit still and like do less. Do less and let me do more.
Do you think that's just like in our nature? like as human beings, is like to find the formula that works.
Oh yeah.
Right?
Oh yeah.
Because like I think sometimes we can do that with God a lot.
Oh yeah.
Is like I did this and this and this, and then I heard from God. So now, anytime I want to hear from God, I'm going to do this and this and this, and then we almost like make an idol out of God, like make him like a genie in a bottle. Like there's a formula to getting to God, and I think that's when God is just like, yeah, no, we're not going to do that anymore.
And then we can get down into like.
Yeah. And then that puts you in the pit because you're just like, why can't I hear from God? I'm doing the thing that I said I was doing. You know, I did this and then I did that and then I heard from God last time and now I need to hear from God. So I'm doing this and I'm doing that and I can't hear from God. So, and he's like, yeah, I'm not the sum total of your
exactly.
formula. Yeah.
And then we could go down the whole like society thing too, but everything's quick, everything's fast, everything's microwaved, right? And then you read the Bible and like, okay, these guys were stuck in the desert for 40 years, like. I haven't even lived for 40 years yet. Like, I don't even know how fast that is. And we'll wait for like one weekend. Like, God, I need an answer. I'm a volunteer and give me something. Like, immediately, like it's fast food or something like that. And life is not like that. And God's not going to, he's a good father. He's not going to give you that quick, instant dopamine hit because that is not good for you.
Yeah.
You know? Ugh.
Yeah. Doug in a sermon recently said he talked about that, right? Like the slow drip dopamine hits, right? And God does give us these moments, but like breadcrumbs on the trail. Yeah. But he doesn't just like give you like
boom, here's all the happiness at once.
He's not like just giving you these grand wild moments like these slow drips, and then there's big moments that do happen along the way, but he's like slowly leading you on this trail. It's not just like this quick hit thing that's happening constantly.
And it'd be so easy to turn working for God into another addiction too. If you're constantly getting dopamine hits or God, I volunteered, God, I prayed, and then always happiness, like it could be very easy to get addicted to it. Whether you have codependency like me, or if you have any kind of external validation or external praise or anything like that, it would be super easy to, if every single time you did something for God that you got that instant hit right there, that'd be great. But yeah, you'd be hooked on that and not on God. And that could be dangerous. Yeah. I've had to constantly check myself and be like, okay, Jeremy, why are you doing this? Are you doing this for your glory or for his glory?
Yeah, I feel like we could park on that for a long time.
Yeah, that's next on a future episode. A future 1 hour episode.
But I want to encourage you for a minute. So, like, what would it look like for you to surrender your recovery to Christ and let Him be your strength when you feel weak? I'd love to hear your story. I'm sure Jeremy would love to hear your story about how Christ has strengthened you in your recovery journey, what He's helping you to overcome. Leave a comment below so we can pray for you and support you and become a community of like-minded believers that are here to support one another and help each other on their journey. So as we jump into our last question, how does Christ give us purpose and restoration in our recovery?
How does He give us purpose? I feel like it comes back to that identity. As we get deeper in His identity, then we're gonna want what He wants. The more that we know Him, His wants are gonna be our wants, and His desires our desires, and then that gives us purpose. Something that I've been saying a lot for a long time, and I always kind of fall way back it and come back to it, is live for the eternal. You know, Colossians 3:2 says it like, focus on things not of this world, right? And it's funny that Doug talked about it this week too. I was like, nice. But as we focus, as we get closer to Him, Our purpose is not going to be things of this world. And that's super tricky, and that's super hard because it's not tangible. You can't just like weigh it. You can't put it on a scale and be like, this is my purpose.
Yeah.
And it takes work. It takes time getting close to him and understanding that. But yeah, what do you got on that one?
Yeah, in Joel 2, it says he'll repay you for the years that the locust eaten, right? And I lost the vast majority of my life to my addiction. And I have to walk through life believing verses like that.
Yeah.
That he's going to repay me for all those years that were lost. And it reminds me of a conversation I had, a woman that spoke to me early on in my recovery, and she said, even going through life, and it's like Satan has like been reaching in the window. Every time you feel like life is going kind of good, it's like Satan comes and sticks his hand in the window and takes back what you thought was good. And she encouraged me by saying, Satan's going to stop being able to stick his hand in that window.
Yeah.
And I have to hold on to things like that and believe things like that, because so much was lost in my addiction. I lost my childhood. I lost relationships, the life that I thought I was supposed to be able to live or have, opportunities that I otherwise would have had. I have to believe that God can take all those things and work them for his good, and that there's a better story.
Yeah.
Right. And even just in this moment, I'm like realizing like, oh, I'm like getting some of that stuff back now.
Yeah. Nice.
Right. And in the relationship that I have with my daughter now, in coaching my son's football team, now.
Yeah.
And getting to have these experiences with him. I lost a lot to the locust. But through planting good seed in good soil, the fruit of these relationships I'm starting to get back now.
Yeah.
And I have to believe that more will come out of it now on this side than anything that I ever lost.
Yeah.
And I lost a whole heck of a lot, but I'm believing God for so much more. Whether I experience it in this life or I experience it in eternity, I already know that it's so much more. And so it's awesome to have somebody come and speak to you in that way when you feel like you've just lost everything.
Yeah.
And like maybe and like, yeah, like you're seeing God show up in your life, but like I couldn't even like accept what she was saying at that point in time. I'm like, you don't understand. Like I don't got my kid.
Yeah.
And now I have, like I just spent my whole Saturday watching and rooting and cheering on my kids playing sports.
Yeah.
It wore me out, but it's awesome. And I'm getting to re-experience parts of my childhood that I didn't get to experience because of what I went through with my kids, going through their experiences with them, and being able to teach them from my experience as a child and have real conversations with them.
Yeah.
And just re-experiencing it all over and letting the kid in me like that didn't get to smile now.
Yeah.
Like I get to smile and enjoy wrestling with my son, and it's the kid in me that's having fun with that. So
man, that's awesome. That's cool.
Man, that's all I have tonight. Do you have? I know we just talked about like how Christ shows up in very large ways throughout our recovery. Is there anything that?
Yeah, I'd say it's really hard when you're going through it too. When you have lost it all, when you feel like you've lost it all, and it's like unimaginable that he can restore what the locust ate. And I've been there too, but he's going to, when someone comes to you and says his plan is going to be bigger than you can even imagine, like, yeah, you're really in a spot where you can't imagine anything because you've lost everything. And I think I start to get glimpses of what he has like promised for me. And it's, sometimes there's that part of me that wants to stay in the hurt. Like, God, you took it all away, or Satan, or you let Satan take it all away, or whatever, it's just been taken away. And I think of that Hawkeye meme from the Avengers, and he's like, "Don't give me hope." Like, it's so stupid, it's so edgelordy, but as I was talking about earlier, is like letting go of our pain. Like, no, even your darkest moments, even like your story of like, you want to live in that identity of being a victim or something, or like you're going through this such super hard time, you want to hold on to it. No, even let that go. Like, because God does have a bigger plan for you, and you just got to step into it, and trust the process that it's gonna happen for you. Yeah. And it's tough. I'm still in that spot where the progress of recovery kind of feels stagnant, feels stuck. Like, God, is anything happening? Am I changing? Am I growing? But being able to check back in, looking back at when I was like, yep, there was nothing. I can't even imagine anything happening or getting better. And it has gotten better. So if you're stuck in that spot, like, just keep going. Just take it one day at a time. Don't dwell on your past. Don't dwell on your future. Enjoy the time that he's given you now, and you'll get through it.
Yeah. Yeah, if I could leave you with one thing, it would be Christ doesn't just heal one part of your life. He transforms everything. And even if you're not experiencing that everything today, you will experience that everything at some point.
Yep.
And just keep trucking along. It was Chip night tonight. We had a gentleman talk about 19 years. And you know how you get to 19 years? One day at a time. One day at a time. So if today's message spoke to you, share it with someone who might need encouragement in their own recovery. Leave a comment below. Share your story. Let us know how we can pray for you. We're all in this together. And God is at work in every single one of us. And my name is Lawrence.
And I'm Jeremy.
And this is AfterCare.
Yeah.